Alrighty, and finally, guys, we are near the end of our Week 10 rankings here. We've gotten through the quarterbacks, we've gotten through the running backs, and we have gotten through the wide receivers. If you guys haven't watched those videos and you're looking for the links to those videos, you can find those links in the description below, along with the link to the companion that we'll be going over today that breaks down our rankings, the DraftKings salaries, as well as clicking into the game info to get all of the matchup updates position by position for fantasy on what those defenses are giving up on a weekly basis. With all that being said, guys, let's get into the final rankings here. We have the tight ends. And so the tight ends are a little interesting. We lost Kittle for the year. So there goes your number 2 tight end. The number 1 tight end, the only legitimate stud tight end this year in Travis Kelce. He is out in this matchup this week. And that leaves some holes to fill. So let's jump into these matchups, guys. Now, just so you know, the Jets are on bye this week. You don't have to worry about that. The Cowboys on bye, so Dalton Schultz, you don't exactly have to worry about that. The Falcons are on bye, so Hayden Hurst is out. He's actually been pretty consistent, so you're losing a decent one there. And of course, Travis Kelce with the Chiefs. So with all that being said, guys, starting off our rankings here, we are going to go with our number 1 guy here. And without Kelce on the board, it was kind of interesting to see which I would go here. Now, generally, you would think, okay, well, would it be Mark Andrews? He was the guy last year that was a top 3 guy going into this year. Terrible matchup. He has not been playing that great this year. Very boom or bust in my opinion. So I'm not exactly thrilled about it. So it was a pretty obvious one when I really broke it down and looked at these rankings here. And if you guys are in the companion, you already see it. And that is Darren Waller. Darren Waller is our number 1 tight end of the week. He's only 5,900 on DraftKings. And in my opinion, these tight ends are so cheap in DraftKings that I'll be honest with you, I would be going out of my way to use TJ Hockenson or Waller this week. If you need to jump down or you're doing ones where it's, one's in the afternoon or one's in the morning because it's only going to be one or the other, I would go TJ Hockenson in your morning lineups, obviously Darren Waller in your afternoon lineups. And if they're both there together, I may go with TJ Hockenson just because the matchup with Kenny Golladay out, that could be an interesting scenario. And I know Washington's been bad against tight ends. They were last week. All they need is for their offense to implode on itself, and all of a sudden TJ Hockenson is your number 1 tight end of the week. That being said, I like the consistency more of Darren Waller, guys. He's my number 1 tight end of the week for a reason here. Looking at his numbers over the last couple of weeks, he has 111 fantasy points overall. He had 13 last week, the 10 targets, 5 catches for 22 yards and a touchdown. The week before that, guys, 6 targets for 5 catches and only 27 yards, 7 points there. Then after that, week 7, 17 points in a full point PPR, then 15.8, then again 15.8, then only 2 points, and then 28 and 10. So out of the entire year, outside of maybe a couple guys, Waller is like the second most consistent guy. You basically have to say at this point, he is a top 3 tight end. So you start him in your lineups when you have him. I don't really care what the matchups are at this point because he's been proven outside of New England. He struggled there to a degree, but he played well against Tampa Bay. He played well against Kansas City and Buffalo, and they're all been pretty decent at tight end against tight ends for one way or another. And he played decent well against Carolina in week 1. So Darren Waller is my number 1 of the week. TJ Hockenson comes up at number 2 here, guys. And the reason being is Washington in the only weak area of their team, giving up the 6th most points to tight ends, giving up 5 catches for 58 yards and about a touchdown a week. That's kind of what TJ Hockenson's been doing all year long. So I'm perfectly fine with that if he's healthy to go. Now, Kenny Golladay out could either hurt or help him. He's going to be targeted more, I think. Have to get a little more involved maybe. But that also could be we're going to try to key in on him in the Washington defensive side. So I don't know if that will be the case, but he's definitely in a weak position in this kind of week without certain players there with, no Hayden Hurst or Travis Kelce. If you have TJ Hockenson, he's number 2 on the list, so you go with him. Noah Fant, tougher matchup here, but especially if Jerry Jeudy's out, I love him at number 3 even more. I don't really care about the matchups. We know when Noah Fant is healthy that Drew Lock loves Noah Fant, so I know that's going to be a thing. I know he's going to do pretty well this week if he stays healthy. Mark Andrews, I am very concerned about putting him at number 4. I'll be honest, that's my first one where I'm like, I don't know if I like that myself. He's just not been good. 5 points. He hasn't had more than 6 points the last 3 weeks. He's only had double-digit points 3 times this week here, guys. It's hard to put him there. But it is kind of a weak week, and it's, am I going to tell you to put Mark Andrews or Evan Engram in over Mark Andrews? I can't in my right mind tell you to do so. I think if he does it another week and it's just super obvious that he can't get the ball or that they're keying in on him or something along those lines, I'm going to finally move him down legitimately in my rankings and just say F it. But I'm going to give him the benefit of a bounce back week here. Although for DFS, I like the next two guys more. Rob Gronkowski, a little unpredictable. Better matchup than his wide receivers. I'll tell you that much. I mean, wide receivers, Carolina is ranked 26, whereas tight ends, they're ranked 19th. So I do think Rob can have a decently bounce back week here. I'm going to be a little cautious about him too, though, to be quite honest with you. I think my favorite DFS play this week, guys, is Evan Engram, though, at number 6. Best matchup of these guys outside of TJ Hockenson. He's going up against Philly, who does let up the 4th most points to tight ends. All right, 6 targets, 59 yards, and 0.8 touchdowns. That's a really high average. So what that's telling me is that he has a chance of getting like 58 yards and a touch in this game pretty easily here for Evan Engram. And he's come on strong. He's come on consistently. So he is deserving of top 6 consideration this week. I have Jared Cook next at number 7 because of the San Fran situation. I'm just kind of projecting that maybe the blowout allows him to get some more yardage here. But listen, it's a crapshoot and it's a tough position, so you go with it. Terrible matchup, but the team itself is dealing with a lot of stuff on San Fran's side. So Eric Ebron, guys, we talked about it last week. We did like him last week. I still like him this week. Keep him at number 8 here. I think he'll have another nice week for you. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Cincinnati, that's one of the weakest positions, and it is. So Cincinnati's giving up the 2nd most points to tight ends. I would be most inclined to say that Eric Ebron's probably the starter of the week in DFS, personally. But this is kind of one of those things with the receivers where there's a lot of mouths to feed in Pittsburgh, and that always scares me. That's why I like Evan Engram higher. That's why I have even Cook higher, even though there's a good amount of cooks in the kitchen there. I don't think you can compare the 3 receivers from New Orleans and the 3 receivers from Detroit, from Pittsburgh in their best days, right? So Dallas Goedert, I have at number 9. Now listen, guys, I love Dallas Goedert. I think he's going to bounce back. I don't know if it's going to be this week. I am hesitant, but he is by himself, and he has, when he's been the guy, he's had his opportunities to do that. So the problem is the Giants are only letting up around 4 catches for 45 yards at the linebacker position. They are playing extremely, extremely well. Blake Martinez is playing really well for them in the middle. So that does scare me a little bit, but we'll see. I think Dallas Goedert could have a decent game. I don't think he's going to go crazy or put 20 points up, but I'd be pleasantly surprised if he did, right? Number 10, Mike Gesicki, guys. He's been really inconsistent and not that great this year, but the matchup is fantastic against Los Angeles. That could be a shootout. And that could see, Devontae Parker kind of being blanketed by the secondary, and no Preston Williams. Someone needs to step up. The running game, Myles Gaskin's out. I think this could finally be the Mike Gesicki day, maybe. I'm going to give him the opportunity at number 10 here, and hopefully I'm right. Number 11, I like Austin Hooper. Tight end's getting more involved. He looked good before his injury. I have no reserves starting him there against Houston, who's giving up a lot of points. The 10th most points to tight ends so far this season. Jimmy Graham, I have him at number 12. I have him just above Hunter Henry, but I'm not exactly confident about that. It could be hit or miss with Jimmy Graham, but he has been playing pretty decent, and it looks like Cole Kmet's kind of, buzzed off a little bit here the last couple of weeks, right? So, but reality is in a full point PPR, even with that, guys, he's only had 2 games when he's been under 7 points, and for tight end, and he's had 4 games double-digit fantasy points, 2 more games with 8+ points. So that's fine. I mean, this position's so weak. I'm cool with that. He's averaging pretty decent numbers here, and Minnesota is giving up decent points to tight ends. It's not like they're really that great at it. 13th most. So they're almost top 10 in giving that points. So I like Jimmy Graham, but Cole Kmet could always vulture that production. Hunter Henry, really tough matchup against Miami here. One of their toughest positions overall for Miami. 26 overall against tight ends. Everything else, they're pretty much in the gray or in the middle of the pack. So they're really good against tight ends. I don't love Hunter Henry. I don't like him in this matchup, to be honest with you. And I got to start him in one league. So me saying that sucks. Guys, this is probably my most conflicted rank right here. Number 14, Robert Tonyan. Assuming he's healthy, I had him at number 14. Really cheap. The volume is not there. Lazard's coming back. Everyone's coming back healthy. Jay Sternberger's getting more involved. I can't trust it right now. Outside of that 33-point game, he only had a few decent games here. Oh, by the way, he also missed practice on Thursday and Friday, so I'm not banking on him for this week anyway. But even if I did, I would be 14th with him. I have Goedert and Tonyan. I have Goedert at number 9. Guys, in my main league, I have those two. I'm starting Goedert. So regardless, even if Tonyan's healthy, I need to see more of it. I actually like the next guy more. Irv Smith Jr., number 15, guys. Looked really nice last week. The Chicago Bears are really good outside of tight end position, giving up the 9th most points here, about 11.9 points a game to tight ends and so forth. So they are getting up some points to tight ends. And I think Irv Smith can make something happen if they shut down the receivers. And Dalvin Cook could be a nice sneaky play for you if you need him. Tyler Higbee at 16, listen, I'm staying away from him. I don't care what the matchup is. Him and Gerald Everett, unless he's the main guy, I don't trust that. Jordan Reed at 17, guys. Logan Thomas I have at 18. Darrell Daniels for Arizona. I have him at 19. He did have a touchdown, I think, last week. And Buffalo has given up the 5th most points to tight end, so he could be a sneaky play, but I ain't going to bank on that. So that's why I have him at 19. And then rounding out the rest, guys, we have Njoku at 20. Albert, I'm going to try to say this, okay? Albert Okwuegbunam. Okwuegbunam, I think it is. Albert Okwuegbunam is at 21. Gerald Everett at number 22. Tyler Kroft at number 23 against the Arizona Cardinals. Harrison Bryant, because of Austin Hooper being back, of course, and David Njoku and so forth. I just don't know who to trust with those tight ends. Knox 25, Akins 26, Eifert 27, Fells 28, Ross Dwelley 29. Guys, you shouldn't be starting anyone below number 19, and that's desperation, okay? Just throwing that out there before we kind of end it on this one. And then as we mentioned, guys, the DFS plays I like the most this week. Eric Ebron, 4,400. Evan Engram, 4,500. Even these guys down here, they are cheaper, but I'm not going to go out of my way. If you need a deep guy and you need a cheaper tight end, a much cheaper tight end, I like Irv Smith at 3,300. And then a really deep one that I'm not 100% confident on, 2,700 for Darrell Daniels, and a really good matchup against Buffalo for the Cardinals. He seems to be the better tight end there. So that is the rankings, guys. That's all we got for week 10 here for the tight end position. I'm just going to recap the top 10. We have Darren Waller, TJ Hockenson, Noah Fant, Mark Andrews, Rob Gronkowski, Evan Engram, Jared Cook, Eric Ebron, Dallas Goedert, goodness, and Mike Gesicki here, guys. My favorite one of those groups for DFS, Eric Ebron, Evan Engram. All right, so matchups are good for those guys. Great value on them on the board, under 4,500. I love all that stuff. And so that is it. So that is the Week 10 rankings, guys. If, again, you want to know, if you didn't see the quarterback rankings or running back rankings or wide receiver rankings, we have those videos at the clip below. And at the end of this video, we'll be linking 2 of those videos for your convenience, so you can go and check those out as well. Guys, good luck on your matchups this week. Enjoy the games. And again, my name is Dave Starner. This is the Rise and Fall Fantasy Football Show, Week 10 edition. Have a great weekend. Away.